Peace and blessings, good people. Thank you for joining us once again for another go round of Objects in Motion. I'm your host, Matt Pressberry, and I'm just a man who like talking to people. And I like understanding where people are in their lives. I'm on a particular journey myself, working to find out more about me and life and all of that good stuff and see where this life of mine takes me. And I'm very interested in finding out how other people are living, how they're moving, and what objects they're coming up against and how they're staying in motion. So I am joined today. I'm very happy to be joined today by my good brother, whom I have known since 1990. We definitely go way back since the day we both first walked into them doors of that castle
That's
on
on
that
the hill.
hill.
Yes, sir.
My brother, Bravette Flee. Welcome to the show, good brother.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Yeah.
So we're gonna get into it. As I said, I've known this brother for so very long. And one thing that we were talking about before we started recording, is really just starting to get into being your authentic self and not worrying about what other people think. And I know that that's one thing. Even before I said it to you, I already had it on my mind, and that's where I wanted to go because you as an individual, as a human being, I know since I met you them 33 going on 34 years ago, you have always been who you are and very authentic to yourself. And I know at that time we come into a world like my kids, their generation is really all on that being who you are and so on and so forth. But
Mhm.
33 years ago, it was not like that. So talk to us a little bit, about that part of the journey and coming from there, getting into high school and being brave at Fleet and being who you are and not even being worried about so much. I'm gonna let you speak because I don't want to put too much in, what I mean, too many words in
Right.
your mouth. You can talk to us about it.
Well, as a kid, I of course I grew up in Baltimore, but I grew up um, not as stable. Um, I had two sisters, one younger, one older, and the majority of my family, especially on my mom's side, were women. So I never really had a male role model. My dad was in my life by the time I got to high school, but then he really wasn't because he was working too much. But as a kid, I suffered a lot because I didn't really know who I was. I was molested by one of my mom's boyfriends. I would say at the age of 4 or 5. You know what I'm saying? So that was a lot of weight on me, and I was molested several times by men when I was a young age. So um, I didn't know what was right or wrong back then, but I know that I was a young boy or a young man that wasn't really paid attention to too much. You know, people always, and you in families, they always pay attention more to women or whatever, or females or whatever. I don't want to
Yeah,
offend
yeah.
nobody, women. And I was a kid that got good grades. I was on the honor roll when I was younger. However, my mom, she was out there. You know what I'm saying? She had boyfriends. She was doing her own thing. She left us in the house with my older sister a lot of times, and so I really didn't have a male role model. And so when I was molested, I guess I equated that as getting the love or attention that I didn't think I was getting from my family, and so I didn't really see the wrong in it because I was too young. Um, and then as I got older, I was still seeking that love, but not knowing that it was abuse at the time. I didn't know it was abuse. I just thought, somebody was paying attention to me. It wasn't until I started, I think I started realizing it more when I was stable, when I moved with my dad. Um, was that in 84, 85 when I officially moved with my dad and I was living in Emerson Village. And then I don't know if you know about how it was in Emerson Village, but everybody was a thug or hood, and
Oh yeah.
it was cool. It was cool to be the badass kid, and you know what I'm saying, and stuff like that. And so that's when I realized how different I was.
Mm-hmm.
I never I never took, and I still don't take on the title as being gay.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because I think that title brings in a whole lot of other things that particularly not me. You know what I'm saying? There are some sides of me that people would think that, oh, you know what I'm saying? You know how I dress, you know what I'm saying? I wasn't into being a bad kid. I was, while they was doing bad stuff, I was writing poems. I was, you know what I'm saying? I was into music. I was never like that. I was never a thug or a hood dude,
Yeah.
but I was in the hood. And so because I was so different from everybody, I got picked on a lot. You know what I'm saying? At the time, me and my youngest sister were living with my dad in Emerson Village, and she got more praise and accolades and respect because she's bad, she's a
Ah,
bad girl. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
wasn't like that, and so I had to like really try to figure out who I was, and and accepted myself. And I don't think that I fully accepted who I was until like a few years ago. You know what I'm saying? But before then, I was the Drew Hill thing. You know what I'm saying? It's not like I never had sex with a woman or anything. And I'm not
Uh-huh.
attracted to women because back when we was in the group, we had groupies. We used to Pound Town.
Yeah.
Before
Yeah.
Pound,
I'm sure.
you know what I'm saying?
I'm
Yeah,
sure.
me and Cisco used to dodge school or whatever, and we brought girls to the house, to his mom's house and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-oh, we getting
So,
the stories now.
oh, well, it's a lot more stories. That's a
We
whole
getting the
nother.
stories now.
That's a
But
whole nother podcast.
let me ask you, I don't mean to cut you off, but let me
Mm-hmm.
ask you, just in terms of growing up, and because I know that I said that, you've always been yourself and you've never been afraid, but I could be projecting. I don't know, if that's actually the case. So do you feel like you got to a point where you were really like, fuck them, I'm gonna be who I'm gonna be and I don't care? Or were you like, I'm gonna be who I'm gonna be, even though I probably might have some consequences and I gotta deal with that? How was it? Was it really like I don't give a fuck, or not?
Well, it wasn't like I don't. It wasn't like I don't give a fuck back then because I guess that I did because I felt like an outcast. Like
Mm-hmm.
even
Mm-hmm.
I'm the oldest grandson on my mom's side. You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
even as me being the oldest, I still felt like the black sheep. I still felt like an outcast. You know what I'm saying? Because they made me feel like, they made me feel like that because I wasn't into. I wasn't trying to be a part of a group or anything. It wasn't that. I just wanted to be accepted. So it wasn't like I always wanted to be myself. It's just that I had no other choice. I I didn't know how to be anybody but myself. And nothing that I attempted to do subliminally was going to change that. You know what I'm saying? And I had to, but it wasn't like when I was in high school, I wasn't like, out is gay or anything like that.
Right.
That just wasn't my thing. And that back then that wasn't tolerable. And also because to me, I don't consider myself an overtly feminine man. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I thought, there was a period where, am I supposed to be like this? And then I'm like, no, I'm not, And so I'm like, I had to fight, even in the gay scene, because there was a period where I'm sure you heard of like ballroom and stuff like that. Now it's
Yeah.
big and stuff. I was actually a part of two major houses in 1995, but it was only because it was somebody who I met who I thought that I could maybe you know spend, you know what I'm saying? I didn't know, but
Mhm.
I got involved in the ballroom scene and stuff. And then even then, I was like, no, this not for me. These people too catty. It's all of this other stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I had already been like abused and stuff, and I didn't want to deal with that no more. So it's like, to me, me being myself wasn't good enough for the quote unquote normal straight community, and who I was wasn't normal or acceptable for the gay community either. So it's like, well, who am I? And
Yeah.
I finally started realizing that the last few years I am Bravette, and that's enough. I don't need to be put under any category or whatever. I don't have to go
Yeah.
to a gay pride and all this other stuff to be who I am. And just because I don't go does not mean that I'm ashamed of who I am. I am who I am. And I don't feel like I have to I should have to explain to everybody about why I don't like this because the majority of the gay people like this. Or
Yeah.
why am I like this because the majority of straight people do this. I think I just always stayed in my own lane because I didn't have the energy or I didn't know how to be anybody else but myself, you know. So
That's interesting, and I want to apologize because I really when I said what I said as far as being your authentic self, I'm really looking at outward appearance. You know what I'm saying? And as
mm-hmm.
far as you dressing and never being afraid, like it's very. I think it's fair to say flamboyant. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And like I've always known you to be that. So I took that and mistakenly applied that to your personality, even though I mean I know you, I know you
Mm-hmm.
and to a large degree are who you are, right? But I should not put that on you and say and to try to diminish or demean, you know what I mean, what you've been through as far as the stuff you've had to push through and all of that.
Oh no, that's understandable because one thing that I've always done in my life, and I know this for a fact, is to not allow my outside appearance to. I think in a way I didn't want people to know what was going on, and I didn't because I didn't know what was going on myself, but I would
Mhm.
never allow people to see me looking like there was something wrong. It was a lot of stuff that I had to deal with, especially in high school that people didn't know about. You know what I'm saying? But it wasn't, again, who was I going to talk to about? You
Mhm.
know, I got molested and this and
Yeah.
that, and so I had these feelings. It was nobody for me to talk to. I couldn't talk to my dad about that. Yeah, I couldn't talk to. I had nobody to talk to. So there were times that I met people, you know, who I could talk to that about because they were in the same situation, but because they were older, they took advantage of me. You know what I mean? They took advantage of me, and yeah, they took advantage of me. So, I got myself into a lot of situations that I wish that I didn't. You know what I'm saying? In a sense, somewhat, but then also I feel like that if I didn't go through those things that I would not be the evolved Bravette that people know
Yeah.
now. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be as comfortable in like setting it. Everybody knows who I am for a fact right now, especially for the last past year since I got married. They know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? And the one thing that I take pride with is that everybody say that you have not changed. You know what I'm saying? And so I can understand why you say that because to you and what you know, I haven't changed and I really haven't. But there's so many things that people don't know. You know what I'm saying? That just is
Right.
not just
Right.
yeah. It just wasn't cool to say that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what that was, and I think that was one of the reasons why I was so in a rush to leave Baltimore after I graduated. I didn't go too far; I wound up going to Howard,
Mhm.
but I wanted to get out because I felt like I was being suppressed in Baltimore. You know what I'm saying? Even I remember when we graduated, the day we graduated, and I actually walked around my neighborhood, my few blocks with my cap and gown on, and them same, can I curse or say
Yeah,
what?
sure, sure, sure.
Them same niggas that was
Mhm.
hanging on the corner that used to pick on me and talk about it, call me faggots and all this other stuff, even though to me I didn't present that.
Mm-hmm.
When I walked around the corner in my cap and gown, you would think they'd be like, congratulations or whatever, like they did everybody else.
Right.
But what I got was people hating on me, like, oh, you think you better than everybody, you
Oh
think you
wow.
smart or whatever. And then there was certain people who knew that I was in, I was in the group or whatever. It was Drew Hill wasn't even thought of before. They knew I was in the group. You can't even do that. People just coming down on me. And I remember that day after I graduated, my aunts and them came down from Philadelphia to come to my graduation. And when I walked around that corner, I was just like, man, you know what? And so when my aunt was leaving to go to Philly, I went to Philly with them and stayed up there for a few weeks, you know what I'm saying? Just to get
Mm-hmm.
my mind right. And the year before my dad got into a bad accident and he's like mentally disabled. So I was only dealing with my sister who was a hellion, and
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to get away until it was time for me to go to Howard, and I barely got to Howard. The only reason why I got to Howard is because I got a band scholarship because I was in the band, and I
Right.
got a senatorial scholarship, but I didn't have any help from my parents. My mom was still strung out on drugs. And he had gotten into a accident. He wasn't mentally capable of like doing what I needed for him to do to get me into college. So I didn't even have that much. But on those two scholarships, I was like, forget it. I'm going to Howard. I was in band and stuff like that. And I knew that I did not have any money to pay for the next semester of my tuition.
Mm.
But so I came to Baltimore for a little bit, but then I went back and I wound up staying in, some of my friends' room, like Aaron, he was still there. So I stayed
Yeah.
in his room for a little bit, or my college room. I was just staying there dorm, you know what I'm saying? And then during that time of me staying there and then going back and forth to Baltimore is when I got into the ballroom scene and going. Then the next semester I was still in the band at Howard, but I was living in Baltimore, so I was going back and forth from Baltimore to DC every day just so I can feel like a part of something that I wanted to be a part of, because it wasn't like Baltimore was just it was a lot of pain and heartache and trauma that I dealt with in
Yeah.
Baltimore, so I wanted to get away. Yeah.
Understandable. So many of us wanted to get away. That's for sure. So going up to graduating and during this time and then going to Howard, what what kind of changes did you see just in terms of yourself going through that process and then also like people around you? Was there any increase in the support system or anything like that?
No, when I got to Howard, when I got to Howard, it was the same what they try to call toxic masculinity, you know what I'm saying? And the thing is, I never lied about my sex life. It's just that the parts of my sex life that I thought was acceptable is what I told people. When I was in DC, I was able to like branch out because I was in a new city, and even though I had like people like Bianca and Denise and Aaron and Kyle and all of them there, you know what I'm saying? I still was able to be myself. And so that's when I started venturing out and started going to the gay clubs and stuff like that, thinking that, okay, this is where I need to be because I must be gay because, I'm attracted to guys now and I know where that came from.
Mhm.
I always tell people, when I had this conversation, I don't feel like I really got a fair chance to, to be quote unquote normal. I never had a chance because right when it was time for me to figure out, or even before, I was already molested by a guy. So it was already, you know what I'm saying. But
Yeah.
who is gonna? I really didn't understand all the ramifications of that then. And if I did, who would I talk to about that wasn't going to like talk about me or make me feel worse than what I already was? I was physically abused by my mom. She used to beat us with whips and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, I was getting molested. I had a lot of stuff going on. And then me still trying to maintain the being a smart person and getting good grades, but living in a neighborhood where it wasn't looked as a good thing to be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, DC. I really cherish DC. I wish I could still afford to live in DC. I probably could now, maybe, but DC was the place where I was able. I always say Baltimore is where I grew up. DC is where I became an adult, and I ain't even get to Philadelphia. Philadelphia is where I became a man,
Mm,
because I became an adult because I was able to like venture out and do some things or whatever that I was too ashamed to do in Baltimore and figure stuff out. You know what I'm saying? And I had the freedom. That's where I really started, getting known like in the arts and the music scene and stuff in DC. I was able to really be myself, who I thought I was fully was back then, but
mm,
there were some things that I was still not, um I guess, proud about, that I didn't learn to respect and love myself for who I was until I moved to Chicago. So DC, I love DC. I always love it. You know what I'm saying? It definitely, you know, gave me room to explore. That's what it
mm.
was. To explore.
Yeah, and I think I keep going back to this point in my head that I'm reminding myself that, although we've had these conversations and stuff, it's like just reminding me of the things you've been through and just what you said, and just coming to really love yourself. I think a lot of times one thing we have to consider is that many of us, and I know, firsthand myself, so um far be it for me to make this kind of error, but I know that many times when we don't have real self-esteem, real self-value than we put on a lot of times. I'm not saying that, that's your case particularly, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying in terms of us, of people judging other people just on outwardly appearance. It's easy to
Mm-hmm.
say, oh yeah, they fresh, they fly, they got it going on. But a lot
Mm-hmm.
of times they really don't. We just put this shit on, like Kanye said, we things we buy to cover up what's inside.
Right, yeah. And I still do that, I think, kind of to this day, even though, but I'm just accustomed to it. I can't go outside and look like I gotta look a certain way. I have to,
Mhm.
and then my I got this massive cologne collection. I gotta smell a certain way. It's
Yeah.
just that, you know what I'm saying? When I was homeless, well, I guess we'll get to that when we get to the Philly
Hmm.
part. I was, they was hating on me and the shelter because I wasn't looking like, I wasn't trying to look like no bum. I was still
Right.
coordinating. Even with two pairs of shoes and a few pairs of pants and shirts, I was still looking like I was somebody, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And that's what I think, that's what's been carrying me through all of these years, just the pride in myself. Yeah.
And it's amazing, to say that and have that with the things you've been through. So you brought up the part about Philly, so we're going to get into that, but I also definitely want to know, and this may be the answer to the question. You said the pride, but I wanted to know, like, what through all of this, like, what was really keeping you going and keeping you motivated, because a lot of people would have just thrown in the towel, with these kinds of challenges.
I'm going to admit, I've had several suicide attempts starting
Hmm.
from when I was like maybe 9 or 10, when I started realizing that the things that had been done to me wasn't right. And then now the feelings that I have technically aren't supposed to be right. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I just, like, I have no other choice but to keep going. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? I want to be here. You know what I'm saying? I didn't plan on my life being like this, but I just, I mean, luckily when I did move to DC and I was at Howard, I started feeling appreciation from people for who I was. You know what I'm saying? No matter how much money I had, you know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? They saw something. Even actually when I went to Howard, when I went to Howard, my parents, my dad, they didn't take me to Howard. It was somebody that went to city with us. Their parents took me to Howard when I needed clothes and stuff and sheets and stuff. My parents didn't help me with that. It was other people's parents. And it was just so strange to me because I'm used to, like, especially my relationship with Aaron and other people's families, you will go over there and like their parents would put so much into them and making sure that they had, what they needed for school and stuff. And I didn't have that, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Only had that through other people. So yeah, I think it's just wanting to be here and just know there's a bigger purpose and knowing that they are people, even though I don't feel like my family took stock in me, other
Yeah.
people did. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I think that it's the relationship that I built outside of my blood related family that kept me going. Yeah.
I can dig it. So let's get into it again. You mentioned the transition from DC to Philly. Talk about that.
Okay, so it was around 2001. I was staying in a pretty decent neighborhood. I had a studio apartment, but they started building a new convention center in DC. I was working at Tower Records, and that's when I started meeting a lot of people in the music industry and stuff. And at the time, the neo soul movement was going on. I had already met Jill Scott and India
Mhm.
Irie and all of these people. So my mom's side of the family, and all of them lived in Philly. My sisters, my mom. So I was like, well, shoot, things are getting high here. Um, the music that I want to do, everybody is coming from Philly. I might as well move to Philly. So I had, I thought that I was going to move to Philly and had the support of my family. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to be in the music industry in some kind of way. I was right there. I had the connections and stuff. And so I moved to Philly with my mom. Now I didn't realize during these years because I was with my mom for the first 9 years, and I got abused physically and sexually and mentally during that time. But you know how they say time heals old wounds and stuff like that. So
Right.
I think me just yearning for my mom, even when she was out on drugs. I love my mom and stuff like that. And so I suppressed a lot of the things that happened to me
Yeah.
then. And so I'm thinking like, oh, okay, I'm 26, 27 years old. I'm moving with my mom. Everything should be fine. I'm in Philly. I know all of these people. I should be fine. It was not like that. What I didn't take into account is that my mom had a serious mental problem. You know what I'm saying? That
Yeah.
she got from her family. You know what I'm saying? And so all of those things that I suppressed, all the abuse and all those things resurrected when I moved with her, and she started exhibiting those same behaviors. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Now
Yeah.
she couldn't beat me with a whip. She couldn't beat me or do all this stuff now.
Right.
But now it was just like the mental thing and just you ain't shit, or just making me feel like that, or me telling her. Now when I moved to Philadelphia, I was supposed to transfer from the Tower Records in DC to Philly, but they blackballed me, so I didn't get the job. But I was like, okay, but I'm going to the open mics and stuff like that and everything. But in their mind, I think they just wanted me to be somebody else. They wanted me to be the person like my Uncle Bert who fixed everybody's cars and building the house and stuff like that, and building stuff and whatever. Even though he's a piece of shit, but that's what they want. They wanted me to be like that, and so again, now I'm in a situation where I thought that I had who I thought I was under control. Now I'm up here, and now my own family is making me feel less of a man.
Mm.
So, um, my mom kicked me out. I moved in with my sister, which my sister ain't too far from my mom. I'm talking about, how they was raised in Philadelphia.
Right.
And so she kicked me out. And then it was just a point where I was living from place to place. Just like I was in Baltimore, even though I had a house, but it was like the situation where I said, I'm still trying to find somebody who I can relate to. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, you put in your life in other people's hands, you know what I'm saying? But I felt like, well, I put it in my family's hands and look what they did. So I mean,
Right. Can it be
I'm a,
worse?
it can't be worse, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? But I mean, but it wasn't worse. And the only thing was is because I didn't put much stock into those people because they
Uh,
wasn't my family. So it's
mhm.
like, okay, yeah, I got to deal with this. I mean, I was homeless so many times when I was in Philly, and it's ridiculous because all of my family lives in Philly. But
Mm.
I didn't feel like, talking to them, and I didn't feel like I could live up to their standards, and I felt like their standards at that time was too much for me. It was a lot I had to deal with, and then on top of the fact that I had to deal with these emotions that I had suppressed for like almost 20 years. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of stuff, and again, it's like, who can I talk to? Yeah, I can talk to these people, but I can't even trust them because once again, I'm in a situation where somebody is taking advantage
Right.
of me not having a place to stay, me not having somebody to trust or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And then so I had met this guy who was 7 years older than me, and he seemed cool because I guess at the time I was thinking about, oh, I don't want nobody. I want somebody I can walk down the street with, and nobody ain't going to clock us or whatever and say nothing. You know what I'm saying? Which is what he
Yeah.
was. However, I didn't know that he was schizophrenic,
Uh,
and so I'm pouring now. I'm like, I know how it is to have family that don't understand you and this and that. So I'm pouring myself to him and like negating myself. You know what I'm saying? Because
mm-hmm.
even as a child, I was like, you know what? I said, I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing the best that I can. And I know God got my back. So it was almost like I was making myself like a martyr, a living martyr. Like, okay, yeah, I can take this
Yeah.
on. It's no problem or whatever. Without realizing that, yeah, my selflessness was wearing me down. And so now it's this person that I care about so much because people don't fucked him over or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
now I'm realizing why, because he has a problem. And I didn't know what I mean. You hear schizophrenia and stuff and bipolar and stuff, but you don't really. I mean, I didn't know what it was until then.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I'm dealing with this guy, and now my mom, she's still like this. That's why I'm really not speaking to her right now. She cares more about money and what she's going to get than the safety of her children. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
like again, it's been resurrected. Like my mom's boyfriend was the one that molested me. The guy in my the family that my mom got to watch me and my sister, their son molested me when you know what I'm saying. So now
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
back to square one, and so there was even a point where I had moved from 2006 to 2007. I moved to New York just to get away. You know what I'm saying? Thinking I
Mm-hmm.
could make it, and I wound up being homeless and coming back to Philadelphia.
Mm.
Yeah, it was a lot. So
Yeah. No doubt about it. And then the transition to Chicago, how did that come about?
so so at the time, um, I was living in a transitional home, which is a step up above a step above like a regular men's shelter because I had my own room and stuff. But while I was there, I was working overnights at Walmart, and during the day or something, I would make playlists. You know, I'm a music person, so
Mm-hmm.
and through that, I was meeting different people, and I had Facebook friends people that I didn't meet before. So one day I had made this playlist, and this guy that I never met before, I didn't think I met before, commented on my playlist and asked me what I know about this music or whatever. And so like after that, we spent time on the phone for hours and hours and hours just talking about music, and then we talked like every day. You know what I'm saying? And then I was like wondering, is this like, are we like trying to get to know each other on that tip or what? You know what I'm saying? But it
Mm-hmm.
was never like that. And then he just became one of my best friend without me even meeting him in person, which Dwayne, you met him before. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And so during the time that I was in the shelter, I got real sick. And I was in intensive care for like 5 days. And he was the one that I talked to. I didn't even call my mom or any of them. I called him. You know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
he would always just feed, feed my soul what I needed. You know what I'm saying? And it was like I didn't have to tell him to do that. You know what I'm saying? It's just that we just linked up. It was just like that. You know what I'm saying? And then when I saw how he dressed, and I was like, oh, I dress like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, we
Yeah.
listen to the same music. Oh shit, we know the same people. All of this stuff, And so I eventually got a job at the film company, neighborhood film company or whatever, and I went from making $7.25 an hour working overnights at Walmart to now I'm making $45,000 a year, and I finally got my apartment and stuff. And that's when I first met him for the first time, and then that winter. For the first time, I never thought I always wanted to come to Chicago because I love Chicago music and stuff like that. So I came to visit him, and when I came here, this was this yeah, almost 10 years ago. When I came here, it was like more people like him, like that was, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they accepted me, you know what I'm saying? They didn't wonder whether I was gay or not. They wasn't doing none of that. They just saw my style. They saw I was with Dwayne, but I got a little more edge than Dwayne because of my mouth, and I like to smoke and I like party. You know what I'm saying? So they love me, and it was like so. Then I came up here to visit him again, and it was like more and more people just gravitated to me, and I was like, why the hell am I in Philly with my family who's on it when I got these people who I don't gotta give them a rundown who I am. They just love me for me. They respect me. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So when I lost the job at the film company because they relocated or whatever, I was like, well, shoot, ain't no need of me staying in Philadelphia. I might as well move to Chicago. And you know what? During that whole time, when I said I was moving to Chicago, everybody that I met in Chicago was just waiting for me to come. Do you know what my family in Philly was like? Why are you moving to Chicago? It's rough up there. It's cold up there. You can get killed. And I'm like, first of all, I'm from Emerson Village in Baltimore, Maryland.
Right, man.
Okay. Yeah, and I live in Philly, and guess what? Philly is no walking in a motherfucking park either. So
That's
what
what
are
I
y'all
tell
talking about?
people. I tell people the same thing. They talking about, oh, you going to Columbia, be safe. I'm like, man, I was born and raised in Baltimore. Now I live right outside of Atlanta. Come on.
Exactly. Listen. Anybody that was born and raised in Baltimore, to me, can go anywhere in Florida if
Yeah.
you got enough money. Now, the only thing that makes somebody not live in another city, it might be money, but it has nothing to do with fear that you get
Right.
inside or anything like that. And I've been like this all my life, dressing like this, and I'm not afraid to go to nowhere.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so yeah, when the opportunity came, I was like, I'm moving to Chicago, and a lot of my family had a problem with it. They thought that I wasn't going to do it. You know what I'm saying? See, they don't. That's what I'm saying. That like I don't think that they really respected me or like they really didn't care. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah. And then the funny part about it is the day that I moved to Chicago is the day that they cut off my unemployment. So all of these expectations of what I was going to do when I got here kind
Right.
of diminished, right? And so now I felt myself back in the same situation where I had to depend on people who are not my relatives, right? Meaning Dwayne. And
Yeah.
guess what?
Yeah.
My best friend held me down all the way through. Even when I had, I had realized I had advanced necrosis and I couldn't work during the time. Dwayne held me down. You know what I'm saying? Dwayne don't smoke. Dwayne don't drink. But guess what? He saw I was stressed out. He went and got me some
Hooked you
weed.
up.
You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? This is
That's love,
something.
man.
If this was my regular family, well, Bravette, you can't afford no weed. Why are you doing this? So they'll
Yeah.
sit there and
Yeah.
smoke in front of me and be like, "Well, you can't afford this. Why?" You know what I'm saying?
Ain't that something?
It's a big difference, And so, yeah, I'm here, and it was definitely the best decision that I made. I didn't know how great it was going to be because I never thought that I would be married, let alone to another man.
Yeah, you beat me to the question, man.
Yeah, I
So
know
let's
you're going
get
to do
to it. Go ahead. Let's go.
that. Okay, so when I moved up here, even though I had a sense that my friends had my back, I also had the thing in my mind of like, yeah, I had friends in Philadelphia, and they threw me for a loop. So I went through almost the same thing of exploring around and seeing who I can meet or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And I came to the same conclusion. Let me tell you something. It's the same in every freaking major city with black people and the LGBT community. It's the same thing. You know, they might have a little twang in their accent or something different, but it's the same deal. So, one time, this is around, like in March of 2019, I was on one of those apps, Grinder or whatever, you know, looking for something I probably ain't had no business looking for, and I came across this profile of this guy, and you know, I was like, wow, you know, he's a pretty decent looking guy or whatever. I didn't know he was, you know, he told me his name was Antonio and blah 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 blah, and so I had sent for an Uber for him to come meet me or whatever. Now I'm thinking this guy's black, because that's what he looked like. You know what I'm saying? But then when he texted me back, I'm like, what the hell is he saying? You know what I'm saying? I don't understand. You know what I'm saying? So,
oh man,
we met or whatever, and you know, and when you know, when it was time for me to go where I need to go, and he went where he needed to go, I thought that was going to be the end of it. But I don't know. It was something about him that I was just like, you know, I need to, you know, see where this is going. You know, I don't know what it's going to be, right? But again, we texting each other, and that's when I realized that he is Hispanic. Not only is he Hispanic, he English is not his first language. So we went through that for a couple of months. You know what I'm saying? And we communicated through
Google
Facebook
Translate.
Messenger.
Okay, yeah.
Facebook Messenger, it was at the time, will automatically translate everything. So you
Yeah.
know, and that, you know, we would talk, and then it was like, I remember one day you know, I was still staying with Dwayne, and he sent me this Facebook message, and he was in the video doing all this stuff and all of this stuff, and that's what I like by Bruno Mars was playing in the background, and I was like, wow. I never had nobody do that to me. You know what I'm saying? I never had nobody, you know, without wanting to, you know, have sexual relations. I never had anybody just do
Yeah.
that. And so it just it kind of went from there. And yeah, we met each other March 6th, 2019. We got engaged May 28th, 2019, and we got married July 13th, 2019.
Whoa, that was a quick turnaround. That's what's up.
Yeah, he said, yeah, he was. I said, when you gonna teach me Spanish? He said, yeah, when we get married. I was like, what?
Oh wow.
I was like, okay. And then I remember one day I came over there, and it was like this little ring that was like, it was like elastic with like plastic beads around it. And we were sitting there, and he told me to hold out my hand, and he put this little plastic ring on my finger. I was like, what? You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
I kept it on there, but eventually, you know, shit was cheap, so it felt broke apart or whatever. But it was like little stuff like that I never had anybody just like, hey, you know what I mean? And you know, and so then, yeah, and I, you know, of course, I realized that he was Dominican, and then I realized why we had the language barrier. But 4.5 years later,
It worked.
we still here, yeah. So
We still
we
together.
still together, and he get on my goddamn nerves, and I'm sure I do too.
But this is beautiful because for so many reasons, obviously, but the number one reason is that I appreciate that you have both, as you said, you have come to at this point really learn to love yourself, accept yourself for who you are, right? I'm not making that up, right?
No, you're not making that up.
And very much falling in love, been married now, going on 4 years, and
I'm going on 5.
going on 5, pardon me, yes. My math. Going on 5 years now. So up to this point, we can say, and even I don't even want to say up to this point, because I think a lot of I want to say, like, we can say up to this point it's been such a fairy tale has been a happy ending. Not a fairy tale leading up to it. You know what I'm saying? But
Right, right.
once you met Jose or even just getting to Chicago and being embraced, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All of those positives. So I don't want to, negate the other things to get into that point. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And
Right.
we could think, oh, it's been this way or whatever. But I do think it's very good, especially because I'm thinking about young people who are
Mm-hmm.
going through right now,
Mm-hmm.
and even adults, but particularly young people just stay on my mind in terms of the mental. Like, I think it's really important, and I'm not pushing you to like do anything. I'm not telling you go write a book or anything, but I think it's important that we find ways to share this out. Like, even just coming on this show, you know what I mean, is one of
Mm-hmm.
the ways to really share this with young people, to give them hope. That's really what I'm getting at, to understand
Yeah.
that you can go through all of this shit, but you can still come out on the other side. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
One thing, another thing I do get myself is the ability to be so transparent. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like I remember when I was going through my homeless thing, and I came to Baltimore, but I think it was Damon Baker's funeral or something like that.
Mm.
And Shay Bell, I had talked to her or whatever, and she picked me up from the bus station. And mind you, I was staying in the shelter, so the only reason why I was able to stay out as long as I did, or stay for a couple of days, is because I was doing what I needed to do. Where they gave me a weekend pass.
Ah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But after the funeral, we went to some bar. I forgot which bar it was, and I remember Shanae Mason. It was Petaway back then. You know Shanae? I don't know if you know
Yeah,
Shanae,
yeah.
but anyway, she pulled me out outside the bar. She was like, "Listen, I heard what's going on with you or whatever, and don't ever think that you can ask for help." You know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
I think she gave me like $50, and I just bust out crying because I'm like, wow, you know what I mean? And it followed up with other people doing that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which is why, like, if anything, and that's another thing that our high school, and you know how I am about our class, you know what I'm
Yes,
saying? So
sir.
I try to, yeah, because like I feel value in that. So it's important for me to keep everybody together, because just from us graduating that school at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
you don't realize it when you actually graduate. But now it's like it's an important thing. You know what I'm saying? We are
Yeah.
a family. Like anytime when somebody from city come up here, they call me. I'm
Oh
doing
yeah.
whatever I can to make sure. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I know you certainly held me down when I came through. We had a good old time, that's for sure.
Absolutely. I'm make sure somebody have a good time.
Yes, sir.
We going
I
to
was
drink and smoke.
I was going to get to that point too that you brought up in terms of the city family. And I know that number one, when we say city forever, we mean it. That's not just
Mm-hmm.
a hollow slogan that sounds cute that we like to throw out there. But
Yeah.
even in terms of thinking back, and I know, again, not taking away from anything that you went through, but I do know that there certainly was a core group of us who were like, we accept this guy no matter what. We understand he's a flamboyant dresser. And in our minds, we were all saying, yeah, we know how he rolls. You know what I'm saying? But
Mm.
none of us was like treating you differently or anything like that. And I don't say that like no kind of flex, but I just said like that is really how I feel like we have been in this city family from like
Yeah.
day one. It's just been like you just been a part of us. It ain't been no different. You know what I'm saying? For many of us, I'm not saying that everybody felt that way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But the core group of us who really still hold it together.
Uh, and that's something that I didn't know. I didn't know until I actually put out there that I was married to Jose. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Mm-hmm.
But in my mind, like, I'm happy now. I finally found somebody that care about me. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I can't just like diminish or belittle what this is, because no,
Yeah.
this is not my roommate. It's not my homeboy. This is my husband. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I put that out there, and I didn't think that I would get the reception that I get from
Mm-hmm.
everybody. You know what I'm saying? I didn't think that. So that that made things a lot more better. And to know that everybody love my husband. You haven't met him yet, but he's a
Nah.
hoot.
Okay.
He's a hoot. he like to get out there and dance and party and stuff like that. I can't do that no more.
I'm looking forward to it, but y'all might have to come down to Medellin to make that happen. That's where I'm gonna be at.
Well, I'll discuss why we can't do that right now,
Oh
but
man, okay, all right, all good,
but
no
yeah,
problem, no
yeah,
problem.
yeah.
No
I want
problem.
my
But we are getting ready to wrap this up. It's been a very enlightening conversation. For even though I've known you for 33 years, you told me I was going to learn some stuff, and I definitely did. And I respect you, number one, for taking the time. You know what I mean? Today you didn't have to do this with me. To not only let me in on these things, but let everybody who tunes in, in and understand what has transpired in your life. And I'm just really glad to know you. I'm glad to call you my brother, and I couldn't have ever cared less about what you did in your bedroom or even the clothes you put on, because that is
yeah.
your choice. But I'm so happy for you to be in the position that you are now, that you are just happy truly in your life. I appreciate that.
Mm. And one thing I want to share with everybody is like because I know there's probably some men or out there that have been through some of the things that that I've been through. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But whatever it is, it's time for you to like let it go, let it out, put it out in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, and learn to be comfortable. You know what I'm saying? Like I said before, I've had several suicidal situations. You know what I'm saying? But you got to find that one. You got to find something that's going to keep you through because you're not here for no reason.
Yeah.
Everybody has a purpose and you keep struggling, but you're gonna get there, you know what I'm saying? And you may not be where you thought you should have been, or where everybody else thought you should have been. But just be comfortable in the fact that you have made it through. You know what I'm saying? You made it through, and that you will continue to make it through as long as you want. You know what I'm saying? Just be around people who love you. You know what I'm saying? It don't have to be your blood relatives. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's not. You know what I'm
A
saying?
lot of times. Yeah.
A lot of times it's not. You gotta be around people who celebrate you. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
People
sir.
that's going to want to be down for you in the good times and the bad times.
Yes, sir. What they say, go where you celebrate it, not tolerate it. I
Right.
I
And
agree
that
with that wholeheartedly,
yeah.
100%. So the very last part that we have to do is this little segment I call count your wins. So
Mm.
whatever the time period was, whether it was earlier today, last week, last month, give us one or two of those wins that you're counting.
But they came it's been coming balanced for the last month.
Okay.
So we had a major flood in our apartment.
Right.
The landlord was being an asshole. He tried to send us to court for eviction and stuff like that. We got our apartment now, which is new.
Do
We
that.
got a new apartment. The eviction case is being thrown out, and the major thing is that I got into some kind of program that my therapist had told me about, where
Hmm.
they can help you get your teeth fixed because I need to get
Okay.
these.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they actually I scheduled this appointment last year, and I had the actual appointment October 10th. And when I went there, they was doing all the things to check my teeth and stuff. And I was like, yeah, they're gonna ask me to pay like $35,000. And I was signing the paperwork, and I looked in a space where the money I was supposed to pay, and it said
Hmm.
zero. So I am on the journey of getting my teeth done, getting $35,000
Yeah.
worth of
That.
dental work fixed. So now I'm be cussing out whores like this. You bitch.
Hey, look,
You
send me
whore.
that. Send me that information if you don't mind.
So
Information.
yeah, that's
You
me.
know.
Yeah.
But
Mm.
man, I'm so happy for you. I'm so glad you joined me. I just want to thank you once again, brother. Bravette Fleet. Thank you so much, my brother.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Peace, peace.
Peace.